Welcome back to Tarot and Beyond. Today's reading is All That Glitters Is Not Gold, and it was inspired by this particular card from the Wisdom of the Oracle. I had this idea of looking into things in your life that may seem like they're really valuable or they're drawing a lot of your focus, but they're not necessarily what you expect them to be, or they're not genuine in some way. So we have the three significators here that you see. We have group 1 with the dolphin, group 2 with the angel wing and the rose, and group 3 with the little mandala and flower. So go ahead and select the charm that resonates with you and use the timestamps linked in the description box below to jump ahead to your chosen reading or readings. If you do feel called to more than one, that's totally fine. Maybe you even feel called to all of the readings. Just use your intuition to take what messages feel like they resonate for you or that have context or synchronicity. Leave the messages that don't resonate with you, as they are probably for someone else. These are general readings. So make your selection and we will see you in your reading. All right, hi group number 1. If you guys chose the dolphin charm, this is going to be your reading. So the dolphin here kind of speaks of play and fun and frivolity, community, connection. Those are all the things that I get from the dolphin. But when we're talking about all that glitters is not gold, it might be some kind of playful or even mischievous type of pursuit that is not all it's cracked up to be. So let's get a little bit more information here. We're going to start with the Wisdom of the Oracle, since that was the deck that the inspiration came from. Let's take a look. Okay, so we have building blocks, thinker, and loyal heart. Okay, so group number 1, I see that you are really trying hard, looking to the future, trying to build something that's going to last. You are looking really deep into how do I make this work? What do I do? You're extremely committed. This could be a relationship, since we were talking about the connection and community through the dolphin charm, but it could be a project that you're really invested in, something that you are putting a lot of time, energy, heart, focus, maybe even financial investment into. And what I can see is that the amount of energy that you are investing into this thing is not necessarily paying off. You're not seeing the dividends, or you're not seeing the return on that. And that could be as a result of you not seeing this situation clearly. There's something hidden in the details, group number 1, that you are missing, because there's this air of, I can do it because it's fun. It almost feels like you have this idea in your mind and you've created and built up this entire fantasy almost around what it's going to look like when everything comes together. And it does feel like this is something that you are extremely committed to. Now, I do want to get more information, and I think we're going to go in with the True Heart Tarot for you guys. So let's take a look. The High Priestess card. And I want to put her here under thinker. So you guys are really deep thinkers. You've thought about this a lot. But again, I'm getting this energy of almost fantasy around this. It's like you've created this entire world in your mind in regard to whatever this is. If it's a relationship, this is you creating an entire relationship with this person, projecting into the future what the relationship is going to look like. Let's say, for example, you just met this person. Maybe you've been on a few dates or something like that. or you even just know them at a distance, but you've built up this idea in your mind of this is what it's going to look like when we go on this date, and this is how the relationship is going to progress, and this is where it's going, and you can even see yourself marrying this person. And it's almost like this fantasy or this projection into the future of the potential of this relationship, which is not based in reality. It's not based in what's actually happening. It doesn't mean that can't necessarily happen. Let's say it's a project and you're projecting into the future and kind of predicting this is what it's going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's good to have goals. It's good to have sort of a trajectory in mind. The problem that I'm seeing with this, though, is that it's almost like you're having fun looking at the potentials, and the loyalty and the commitment is there internally at the mind level, but you're not seeing the truth of the situation clearly. You're not seeing what will or will not work. So it's like there's something that's being hidden from you. You're trying to think about it, but you're not seeing it clearly because you've blocked yourself from seeing the truth because you have such an attachment to the idea that you've built up around this, to what the relationship could look like, or to what the outcome will be if you're successful at this project or whatever. So it's like you've deluded yourself a little bit, okay? And I'm trying not to call you out here, but this is what this reading is about. It is a fantasy that you've created, and it's not real. So there is a reassessment that needs to happen here around what is tangibly, practically real for you, and what do you actually need behind that fantasy? Because all fantasy, projection, and future fabricating is built or predicated upon a core need. So you'd want to look at why am I projecting into the future? Why is that important to me? And that will actually give you more insight behind the veil here into what's going on and why you're not necessarily seeing this clearly. Okay, I want to get a clarifier on building blocks. 7 of Cups. Yeah, that's what I mean. This is the delusion card. It's like you're fantasizing, you're creating a reality that doesn't exist. And like I said, it's good to have goals, but when these fantasies are distracting you from actually building something in your life, or they are, I keep getting that energy of distraction, like they're distracting you, you're having fun with those fantasies, you're having fun looking at what could be or creating that in your mind, but it's not real and you're not actually building anything. So it's actually detrimental because you're not getting anything back from it and you're giving a lot of energy. And that's not an equal exchange, especially if this is romantic. The amount of energy you're outputting is not coming back. And so that's not healthy. Yeah, I do want to clarify loyal heart. I feel this one here. The 3 of Discs. I also feel this one. The Ace of Discs. Look at that. Okay. So if this is a project that you are wanting to get off the ground, as if this is like a work thing, again, it's like you are investing more than you're getting back. If this is a relationship, it feels like you're giving a lot and you're not getting anything. And again, it could be because you are looking at the potential rather than what's actually right in front of you. So this is about getting really grounded in reality, because if you want to build something real, then it needs to be real, not just in your fantasy, not just in your mind. So my question to you, group number 1, is what do you really want out of this? And why do you think that this dreaming, because this is what it kind of feels like, it's like dreaming, and it's like fun for you to dream, it's fun for you to imagine, it's fun for you to create a lot in the mind. And that's where a lot of that energy is going. But you want to ask yourself, why? Why am I spending a lot of that energy, time, or maybe even money on something that is more a fantasy than anything else. Like, it's not actually real. And I hate to be the one to burst your bubble. But if you were drawn to this reading, there's a reason Spirit wanted you to hear this information. Because sometimes having a goal that far outstrips where we're currently at can be motivating. Sometimes it can be a delusion that keeps us from actually experiencing what we want in real physical reality. So how do you tell the difference? Well, you have to be very discerning. Bottom of the deck, we have the Queen of Swords. This is all about discernment and being really blatantly honest with yourself, like the brutal truth with yourself, because there's a reason why behind these fantasies, these imaginations, these projections. There's a reason behind it. And usually the reason is because you don't feel like you have what you want right now. And so you spend all this time and energy creating it in your mind, because guess what? The mind can't really tell the difference between what's just being fantasized about and what's actually happening. Like, the body will actually react to imagination very similarly as it does to as if it was really happening. So it's releasing those same neurochemicals. It's giving you a little bit of a taste of that experience, but actually it's more of an addiction than anything else. And because it's an addiction, it can become compulsive. Like I said, it can become really detrimental because you're investing a lot of your mental energy into this, which is a form of currency. Mental energy is currency. Even money is just energy. It's all currency of the mind. If you're investing a lot of energy into this and you're not getting anything back other than that temporary experience of satisfaction, but then you go back to your life and you realize that it doesn't reflect that. It's not matching with what you're creating in your mind. So you have to keep going back into that mental solace, that mental fantasy, to give yourself some kind of an emotional boost, or to get the motivation back to continue with your day, or something like that. That's kind of the energy that I'm picking up on here. And it's really tough because when you're not where you want to be in life, or maybe you're even avoiding something that you don't want to look at, it can be really tempting. And it can be very, very much an unconscious process to attach to an idea of something that doesn't necessarily exist, but that we think maybe could. But again, you want to look at, this is not necessarily serving you because you're not actually getting anything back from it. There's nothing that's actually being built around it. And you're kind of just splitting your resources and not seeing anything back from that. It's really important to get grounded into physical reality so that you can actually do something that will give you that experience in real life. Like looking at what is actually going on in your day-to-day life and asking yourself, is this giving me the same satisfaction as the experience that I'm having when I'm mentally sort of projecting into that fantasy? And if the answer is no, then you want to ask yourself, what is it do I need to do to be able to experience in my daily life what it is that fantasy or that projection is giving me? So let's say, for example, this is a love relationship. Let's say, for example, you've been on like 1 or 2 dates with a person, and all of a sudden your mind is going off down the rabbit hole of, okay, this is what our children are going to look like. This is how we're going to get married. That is very extreme. Going from 1 or 2 dates to attaching to the idea of marrying a person is very extreme. And that actually shows you something about yourself, not about the other person. What that's showing you is that you have a core level need for a deep sense of connection. And so you're attaching to anything or anyone that might possibly be able to give you that, and then building that up in your mind to satisfy that craving or to scratch that itch. But it's not real. It's not real. So you want to look at, okay, what can I practically do in my real life to start working on and building that connection, to start meeting that need? So the first place to start would be connecting with yourself. The second place to go would be actually trying to connect with that other person, or other people in your life who are around, so that you have more of a sense of community, so that you have more of a sense of that connection, so that you're not having to go to those mental attachments as a sort of supplement or as a surrogate for the actual need being met in real life. Does that make sense? It's like if we can't get the need met physically, what we do as a coping strategy or as a coping mechanism is we'll start to create it in the mental realm, because again, the brain can't necessarily tell the difference very well between those two. But it is a maladaptive coping mechanism. It is not a healthy coping strategy because it keeps you from actually physically experiencing the types of things that you are really needing at that core level. So if this was a relationship thing, then I would say, first of all, notice when you're doing that and ask yourself, again, where's the core need and what do I need right now in this moment from myself to be able to feel a bit more stable, so I'm not projecting and attaching to this idea that doesn't exist, that is completely pure fantasy and a little bit delusional. And what, practically speaking, can I do to get towards that goal of, let's say, for example, marriage and a family or something like that? Well, it would be, first of all, to get really secure and connected to yourself. And then second of all, to actually vet the other person in real life to see whether they are an actual candidate for that, and not to project onto them these ideals that you hold of what they could be. Like actually being very practical and looking at the facts rather than the feelings, because those are going to give you the real tangible building blocks to create what it is that you desire or what it is that you're striving for. But without those actual realistic grounded building blocks, you will never get to that. And you keep spinning around in this negative feedback loop of trying to create this idea of a person while actually keeping the entire world at arm's length, because you're not actually open to connection when you're living in fantasy, because you're not grounded in reality. And if this is a project that you're wanting to build towards, it's kind of the same thing. If you are wanting to achieve a certain goal in your life, you want to ask yourself, why do I desire that goal? What are the values within me that are causing me to strive towards that outcome? And there's nothing wrong with having a very, very high-minded outcome. But you have to start small to be able to build toward that. And keeping that projection of the ultimate goal too much in the forefront of your mind, again, it prevents you from living in the reality that you're in and taking the practical steps that are actually going to get you there. So it's counterproductive. It's counterproductive to do this kind of fantasy and projection because you are not contributing the real level actions that will get you to that goal. So you're just spinning your wheels. You're not getting anywhere, and you're wasting a lot of time, energy, and focus, maybe even money. So I want to get a closing card from the Coffee Cup Oracle for you, group number 1. I'm sorry if this has been a bit of a harsh, no BS reading, but that's what this is. All that glitters is not gold. This is the reality. And it can be really liberating and freeing to step into reality, because then you can actually get to the gold, instead of idolizing something that's not that. That's not that. Look at that. All that glitters is not gold, and we're talking about coins. You've got the Ace of Discs, which is the coin, and then you've got the coin card, luck and money. So if this has to do with money for you, really actually building practically stable base for yourself, being very grounded, investing in things that are going to show you that incremental growth. That is what I'm seeing here. And if this is a relationship, this is, stop investing money into something that is not giving a return. Stop investing money into something that isn't necessarily a mutual exchange. That's kind of what I'm seeing there. But aside from that, the coins in general are a great representation of all that glitters is not gold, because they are literally gold coins. And it's being able to tell the difference between something that is real and not real. So it is, again, it's very much about discernment and using your mental capacity, which is very good, but it's just being used towards something that is maladaptive or something that is counterproductive. So you can use all of that mental focus instead of creating the fantasy to actually be able to discern what is for you and what is not, or what is real and what is not. But it does take practice, and it does take a little bit of detachment, because a lot of the time what can happen is through these projections or through these fantasies, we can get very attached to the delusion, and it can feel very much like it's real, even though it's not. So that's why stepping back from it can actually give you a lot of clarity and give you the tools to actually start building something really stable and long-lasting for the future. But it needs to be done in small increments, and it needs to be done meeting those core values for yourself first and foremost, and not looking to something outside of yourself to fill that void, or creating that fantasy again to fill that void. So that is what I have for you, group number 1. If you're still here with me, thank you for being here in the reading. I know that this one was a little bit of a tough one, and if it was triggering, that's okay. That's actually healthy. Triggers show you where the healing is needed. They are wonderful tools to give us awareness. They're messengers of what's going on at that unconscious level. So I hope that this helped in some way, shape, or form, either right now or later on as you integrate more context and information. And I hope that you can get grounded and really practical and see things very clearly with an eye for truth, be discerning, and build for the future based on what you can practically do right now for yourself. All right. Sending you guys so much love and support in this process. And thank you so much for being here. If you guys enjoyed the reading, stick around for more. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Become a member if you want to dive even deeper into members-only pick-a-card readings, weekly guidance, and monthly live streams. And if you are looking for more in-depth personal guidance, support, healing, etc., I am open to bookings for private readings and healing sessions. And you can find the information through my website. It's tarotandbeyond.com, which is linked in the description box below. Thanks again, guys. I love you, and we'll see you in the next reading. Bye. All right. Hi, group number 2. You guys chose the angel wing with the roses on it. So it feels like what you are not necessarily seeing clearly here, something that glitters but is not gold, is it's very, I'm getting this like love and light type of energy. It's like spiritual bypassing a little bit, and not wanting to look at the shadow, not wanting to look at the nitty-gritty things, not wanting to dive into the dirty things or get yourself dirty in the process of looking at the dirty things, and a little bit just trying to see only the good and only the positive and only the love and light. And there's something to be said for that. It's important to have that approach and to hold that space, to hold that love and light so that you can tackle the heavier stuff. But you do have to tackle the heavier stuff. And it can't always be sunshine and roses. That's not healthy, that's not balanced, and that's not whole. So I'm seeing that if somebody is promising you this idea of if you just focus on the love and light, everything will be resolved. If you just, keep your vibration high, then all of this bad stuff is going to go away. That's not necessarily true. That's all that glitters is not gold. There's not actually something practical in that. Okay, let's see. You have not the right time. And the forgiveness card as well. Yeah, it's kind of the same vibe that I'm getting, like this very saintly energy. And it's almost a little bit holier than thou. Now, I'm not saying that you're doing that, but this could be somebody that you're connected to, or even like spiritual gurus or teachers that you're following online. You want to be really careful of people who project this idea of only love and light is real and only the good things in life are possible, and everything can be accomplished by being in that high vibration. Like I said, there's something to be said for that. there is truth in that, but there's also a completely opposite truth which exists simultaneously. The most whole truth is always two opposites coexisting as one. So the integration of both of those truths is what actually creates the wholeness. That's what actually creates progression and evolution and growth. So I'm seeing that there's something here. I just heard unforgivable. Unforgivable. And then you're kind of telling yourself it's not the right time. I can't forgive this because I'm not in that space yet. Or, what is this about? Yeah, they do want me to get one more from this deck. Okay. Compromise. Yeah, it's like there's this unwillingness to compromise because there's a lack of balance here. It's like very much about my way or the highway. This way is the only way. Love and light is the only way, or this spiritual truth is the only spiritual truth, and that's just simply not true. And there's this energy of I cannot forgive the darker aspects of society or people or the human race even. It's like I cannot forgive what this person did to me, or I cannot forgive how this person's approach is different than mine. But what is not true here is that it's the balance between those things that is the truth. That's the wholeness. It's not, if you lean too far to the right, you end up going into the left. Does that make sense? It's like if you lean too far to any one side, you get into extremism and you're then out of alignment. You're not in wholeness anymore. So too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And too much of a bad thing is a bad thing too. So it's like finding the balance, finding the unification. That's where the wholeness really exists. And it's actually having a balance between being compassionate, loving, forgiving, understanding, seeing the higher truth, the love and light of the situation, while at the same time being able to acknowledge that pain and suffering and hardship and abuse exist in this world, and maybe they even occurred in your life. And so you can't mask that pain and suffering in the shadow, in the dark aspects of the self, with that love and light. It doesn't work that way, because then the shadow just rots underneath and it tries to come out, and then the love and light gets distorted. So it's actually being able to accept both and hold them both in your hands and say, these are both valid, these are both true, and I accept them both. And they can actually work together really well. They can actually create a better harmony, balance through this compromise. And it's maybe even about forgiving yourself for some approaches that you've taken that maybe put you in a position of judgment, or not forgiving yourself, not forgiving someone else, not being willing to compromise, saying, it's just not the right time. But really, in reality, it was that you were not ready to accept that these two truths can exist at once. Let's get some tarot cards on the table here so I can get some more information for you, group number 2. What else does group number 2 need to know about this situation where this is not the real deal? 3 of Pentacles. I keep getting this teacher vibe, like if you're learning from someone and they're not teaching you how to accept your own darkness, if they're not teaching you about the negative things, if they're just kind of glossing over that's not a whole approach, and that's not necessarily the full truth. It's like one side of the truth, and that's not complete. Let's see what else. The Sun. So it's about illuminating and seeing the entire picture here. but it's like you've been walled off for it, because they showed me the brick wall behind him. You've been walled off in some way, or you've walled this off from yourself, maybe as a protective mechanism. Maybe this is a coping strategy type thing, right? Where it's like, I'm not ready to forgive this, because to forgive it would mean to accept it, to look at it for what it is, to see it in the full light of day. And that can feel really scary and uncomfortable. Like when you need to face the shadow, it is the hardest thing you will ever have to do. And if you've been through it, you know what I'm talking about. But there's definitely multiple layers to it. So sometimes we get a little bit confident or cocky in our ability to face the shadow, but we haven't even scratched the surface. That's another thing that I'm seeing here. It's like that holier than thou type of energy. Like, oh, I have done so much work that now I'm a master at it, and everyone else is stupid. It's like, no, that's not true. Each person is the creator, and so are you. We're all God, and so we're all just exploring these different dimensions of ourselves, these different fractals, these different expressions and experiences. And the shadow is part of God. Hell is part of God. The devil is part of God. And that's going to piss some people off, but I've got to say it, because all that glitters is not gold. There is no savior. There is no holier than thou guru who has it all right. There is no one person who is untouchable. That just doesn't exist, because we are all everything that exists. So the darkness that you see out in the world is the darkness that exists within you. And the light you see out in the world is also the light that exists within you. So it's being able to accept these parts of yourself and forgive yourself for any transgression. Forgive yourself for any darker parts of the self that you're unwilling to accept, that you feel are unforgivable, or forgiving other people, because again, that's the same thing as forgiving yourself, because other people are just a mirror image of you. We are all one. That other person is another you in a different timeline, in a different reality, in a different iteration. It's just a fractal of you. So if you're casting judgment on someone else, you are actually casting judgment on yourself at a deeper level, at that subconscious mind, collective level. Yeah, this one. 7 of Pentacles in reverse. That's like not the right time. It's like literally coming out right underneath the not the right time card. And the 7 of Pentacles is like having to be patient and waiting for something. And it's not quite the right time to harvest it. You've put in all this effort, but you're not seeing anything come from it. And this may be because it has not been the right time for you to accept these things about yourself. There was more to learn, and that's okay. But I do feel like this is part of the maturity process, but it's kind of like checking yourself, because there has been a little bit of being a little bit misled by a teacher, or they don't even have to be a teacher who's teaching you directly. It's more like somebody who's just sharing information about a subject. It's like you've been attracted to that information for a reason. Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups is forgiveness, apologies, being able to find the wholeness. It's like the holy grail within yourself. And that does come through acceptance, which can lead to forgiveness. Because the Ace of Cups is love, divine love, wholeness in that love. And there's, what was it? Spirit gave me this line a while ago. They said, love is for giving. Love is for giving. Forgiving. So forgiveness is really just giving love, giving compassion, seeking to understand, accepting what is, even if it's dark or even if it's too light. It's forgiving the people that are stuck in love and light too. Because maybe this isn't a teacher that's influenced you. Maybe you're just seeing that out in the world and it's frustrating to you. And this is forgiving that too, because that person is still in their developmental stages as a soul. That's where they're at currently, and that's okay. Even if it's very public, even if it's something that's influencing others, it's okay. It's not the right time yet. for that person to fully step into the wholeness of truth. And same thing with their followers or their people or the people who are being influenced by that. It's okay. Some people want to take that, what is it, the blue pill? Some people want to take the blue pill. And that's okay because their soul is developing through that stage, and that's okay. You can look at that as like a less developed, less conscious part of the self. But you as the conscious part of the self can observe that, and you help to bring balance to it. So don't judge it. Look at it for what it is. Forgive and let go, because they know not what they do, and that's part of their developmental stage, and they will get to where you're at, or they will get further than that, or you will get to where you want to be, depending on the context of this. But yeah, I feel like it's all going to unfold in divine timing. Like it's all so divinely coordinated and synchronized and structured and ordered that to try and interfere with that from a fear-based place or from a need to control, it really just does the collective and yourself a disservice. So the best thing you can do, group number 2, is to actually just let go and accept that everyone is operating from a different level of consciousness, and that is okay. Each one of those is a truth in and of itself. And if you can accept that by accepting the multiple layers of truth within yourself and integrating those through love and compassion and love that is forgiving of the self, finding that balance in you, then you will see progression. Then you will see that it is the right time, that you can move forward. And maybe you even feel called to talk about it for yourself too, or for other people, because then you're shining that light on something that is a more integrated truth. And that can help people to have 2 different perspectives and maybe to choose to discern or to integrate whatever that other one is that you're providing with the one that maybe they were taught before or that they were existing at before. So it's like you give them an example of this different state of consciousness. You give them an example of what it looks like when things are more integrated and more whole, instead of just being completely one-sided. And I think that you would do a really good job of speaking about this, because you can speak from experience. You can speak to the pitfalls that you went through, the ego loops that you got stuck in. You can speak to the fear and the repression of the shadow. You can speak to the forgiveness and the compassion that brought light to these things and helped you to accept them and to move forward. So where you got stuck is then it becomes catalyst to help other people get unstuck from that level too. And not looking down on those people for getting stuck there, because remembering, like, you probably got stuck there too. It's okay. That everyone does. That's part of the soul evolutionary process. So yeah, I really feel like the lesson here is in accepting and forgiving yourself, and by extension these other people, or the other way around, accepting and forgiving other people, because that is a way of accepting and forgiving yourself. It doesn't matter which way you do it. It's a two-way street either way. And one of these cards from the Coffee Cup Oracle just fell out. Old man, inheritance, male. This could be forgiving an older man or an older generation, people who see more in black and white type of thinking. They don't see the whole picture. They're not integrating these different parts of the self because that's their generational consciousness. It's kind of like different layers of the collective consciousness. Or this could be an older man who hurt you or who let you down in some way. And again, it's finding that internal forgiveness by accepting and understanding that shadow part of the self. It doesn't mean that you have to let this person in your life again, but it's just having that awareness and that acceptance that sets you free. But this could also be an older male figure who is relaying this information in a way that's imbalanced. Or you could be a man who's called to bring more balance to the world. Look at that. We've got service. I feel good when I can help others. That's the thing. Like, you are here to be an earth angel. You are. Definitely. You're here to be in service. You're here to help people to see the bigger truth. You're here to help shine the light. But it's not all love and light. And you can teach people that. You can teach people that compassion and forgiveness actually allows you to go into the shadow and into the darkness and not get necessarily corrupted by it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because that's a learning phase of the soul too. But your service here seems to be in sharing what you've learned. That's what I'm getting from this group too. Your service is sharing what you've learned and teaching people not by trying to change their mind or influencing their thought, but really just by modeling it through your own life. Like just doing it for yourself. By embodying it, you help to show people a different way that's a little more balanced and integrated, and that actually will leave a legacy, inheritance. That's the knowledge and wisdom that you've inherited from your forefathers, your ancestors, the people who came before you in this collective evolutionary soup. And you can actually help other people to do the same thing just by being it. You have fear. I realize that I'm testing my resolve to live in the energy of love. Yeah, exactly. That's what this is all about, right? It's the fear of going into the shadow, or the fear of addressing the darker aspects, or the fear of seeing those parts of the self and getting lost, or the fear of corruption, even the fear of, being influenced negatively by the darkness within, and as an extension, the darkness without, because as within, so without. That's what I'm saying. It's all a mirror. So if you face that fear within yourself, and instead of squashing it down and trying to cover it up with only love and light, but instead having compassion for the fear, making the fear your friend, working with the fear instead of against it, then you'll see that it's the right time to move forward, and you'll be able to actively put that into service, because you'll be able to teach people what you learned through your own trials and errors. Forgiving yourself is how you do that and how you integrate that. So yeah, group number 2. All that glitters here is just straight love and light, black and white thinking. This idea that there is one way of doing it, and that we have to avoid all of the pitfalls and mistakes and the darker aspects of the self and humanity. Whereas the real gold, the real value, the real treasure here is the evolutionary fodder that fear actually gives us, that it provides for us. And it is dark, and it is painful, and it is hard. And we don't like it, and we don't want to go there, and we certainly don't want to live or get stuck in that. But all of that is part of spiritual evolution. All of that is part of the entire truth of our existence as souls here in this denser third dimensional veiled reality. So face your fear, make it your friend, forgive yourself, and then give that love to others, because love is forgiving. All right. So that is what I see for you, group number 2. Very interesting reading. Let me know what came up for you as you listened, or as you watched. What was triggered for you? What bubbled up within you, or what context did you have through this reading? All right, guys, that is what I see. I will leave it at that. Thank you so much for being here. If you guys want to dive deeper on the channel, I do have members only pick a card readings available to you, monthly guidance, weekly guidance, all of that good stuff on the members side. And if you want to work more personally or privately with me one-on-one, I am doing readings right now. So you can book either intuitive readings or psychic soul level readings and energy healing. And that's through my website. It's tarotandbeyond.com, which is linked below in the description box. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I love you, and we'll see you in the next reading. Bye. All right. Hi, group number 3. You guys chose this little flower mandala. The stones always remind me of the chakra system. I'm not sure why, but it does. It reminds me of like the energy vortex of the mandala. Kind of feels like an energy center, and the colors as well. But yeah, let's get some more information. I think we're going to do the Heavenly Bodies deck for you guys. Was the deck that really kind of called out. So for group 3, we're going to start with those. We have Earth signs, Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo, persistence, patience, and practicality. Okay. And we have Aries, independence, bravery, and passion. Interesting. Fire signs and earth signs. You may have that in your chart, or that may just be the energies that we're working with here in this reading. So what glitters that is not gold? This is something that you're not seeing clearly, necessarily. They're saying patience and passion. Those are the two things they're showing me right away. Patience and passion. So you could be potentially not seeing something clearly that's requiring a lot of patience from you because you're so passionate about it. Like when I think earth signs, they are slow, methodical. There's a lot of planning that goes into their actions, and they are more likely to stick with something long term to get a larger goal, or to get to that outcome. Whereas Aries, nothing against Aries, this is just the archetype of the energy. The energy of Aries tends to be more impulsive and more desire driven, where there's less planning, there's less focus, there's less persistence, there's less follow through even sometimes. That doesn't mean that the energy of Aries can't be really helpful in initiating, but it's the earth energy that helps to kind of allow that to progress and to continue moving forward. So I feel like this is really you kind of seeing that your passion for something is like the carrot at the end of the stick. But you want to look at where that's actually getting you. And it's fine to kind of get you going. But if you're only chasing the carrot, then you're going to end up running in circles or not getting anywhere, because you're not actually looking at where you're going. You're not actually planning those steps, and you're not looking at a goal that's far off in the distance that you're trying to get to. You're just running around in circles, kind of chasing your own tail. So I want to get more information from the tarot, but I can't. Nope, we're gonna do archetypes instead. Hold on. Okay, so group number 3. They called me to the archetype deck. I thought we were gonna do tarot. We might still do tarot, but this is the one that's really standing out, these two. Okay, what is it? What is it? I'm so curious. Alchemist. Okay, light attribute is transformation of base motives and goals into golden wisdom. Okay, we were just talking about base motives, which is passion, goals, long-term goals, which is that persistent energy of the earth sign and getting you toward that, and the golden wisdom, which is like the gold that you're actually looking for, rather than that fugazi, fake, all that glitters is not gold, which is literally the reading we're doing right now. Now, the shadow attribute is misuse of the power and knowledge that come through spiritual practice. Okay. Let me put this over here. And we have the child eternal in the reverse position, which means that it is emphasizing the shadow. So the light attribute of child eternal is determination to remain young in body, mind, and spirit, ability to see things with fresh eyes. And the shadow attribute is the inability to grow up and be responsible, extreme dependency on others for physical security. Okay, yes. So we're seeing a theme here, right? This is talking about dependency and lack of motivation, irresponsibility. That's a little bit of that shadow side of the Aries vibe that I was picking up on, right? It's like, and look, we even have independence here versus the shadow side, which is dependency. So it's independence versus dependency. So this is what they want to talk about today. This is what Spirit called you to the reading for. We're looking at themes of where you feel stable, grounded, and mature enough to be able to pursue the things that you find valuable. And transforming those baser motives, which are passion or that desire in the moment, and transforming or alchemizing that into longer term persistent actions that are more based on your values than on your desires. Now, what is the difference? Well, desire is based on your senses. We might desire to have a piece of cake because it's going to taste good. We might desire to have physical connection with someone because, again, it releases dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. It feels good to the senses. Values are different. Values are not based on your sensory experiences, and they're more based on your core motivating factors. Like, what do you find value in and why? So this could be more like, I value connection with someone long term over the immediate gratification of a one-night stand. Or I value spiritual truth over the immediate gratification or desire of spiritual validation. So it's like, I value looking at the triggers and identifying the ego. All right, sorry guys, I got cut off there because my storage was full, and even though it wasn't when I checked it, it said that it was, so it stopped recording. So anyway, that could have something to do with this as well. It's kind of like you might feel like your capacity is less than what it is that you're trying to do. And so it's hard to follow through with it. It's hard to continue because it feels like you hit maximum capacity, or you get overwhelmed and then you kind of give up, or you feel like you need to be dependent on other people and you can't achieve that level of stability and independence on your own. But what you're not seeing here, what the gold that is glittering but is not gold, is the fact that you can be independent and you can create this physical security for yourself, but you really need to come at it with persistence and continue to go about this on a daily basis as though you have already achieved it. That's what's going to help you alchemize and create this golden wisdom, taking and transforming the passion into something that will continue to motivate you long term. And motivation isn't something that just occurs randomly. It's self-created. So we do have to consistently show up. It becomes more about habit and routine than it is about desire, passion, or even motivation. It's like motivation is kind of a byproduct of us just showing up and doing the work every day. Now, I did want to grab a card from the White Light Oracle, and I did pull one while it wasn't recording, but Spirit told me to put it back in the deck and just shuffle again. It was Alpha of Alcyone, but I don't even know what that card's about. I'm going to read whatever card comes out here from the book. So let's just go again, and we'll see what comes out. Anapausis. Okay. Put that up a little bit more. Number 4. Well, first of all, number 4 is about security and stability as well. So it just feels very much like it's a confirmation of what we've been talking about thus far. Okay, it says, do not give up. Okay. Look at that. Do not give up, but allow your heart to disengage from your struggles. Give yourself much needed rest. You are in a phase of recovery. If you have been off your path, you are going to come back strong. You will regain your spark of passion, inspiration, and devotion. A certain order of events needs to take place for your soul path to come to fruition. Commit yourself to your sacred journey, trusting that the right thing will happen at the right time. So group number 3, what they're talking about here is that if you feel like I just realized that this is, okay, hold on. Sorry, I just realized that her boobs were out, so I will have censored that, and then now I've got that on there. So anyway, it feels like what Spirit wants to talk to you about is that all that glitters is not gold, is that you do not have to have consistent motivation to carry you through. You just need to cultivate that value system that is going to drive your passion, that's going to drive you to do these things rather than relying on passion to keep things consistent, to create that security that you're after. And know that you can both embrace the higher light attributes of this eternal child within you, while at the same time gaining a level of responsibility, maturity, and creating that security. That's going to actually build your confidence, and then you'll have more time and space to be able to play and be a little bit more carefree in what it is that you're wanting to create. I do feel like the message about passion and persistence kind of speaks to me, and about like the right time on your soul path is kind of reminding me of what we were talking about in group number 1. If you felt called to that one as well, I would check that out. If not, that's fine, because they're very different readings, but I just thought that I'd mention that. So anyways, it feels like to me, group number 3, that it's really important for you to mature so that you can find confidence in yourself and independence to drive forward your goals, so that you can get to where it is you want to be going and create the life that you want without feeling as though you're dependent on anyone else to support you in that process, and or so that you can really cultivate or refine that golden wisdom of the desire, which is the initiating force, but matched and countered with the value, which is that consistent motivator that will keep you coming back even when your passion wanes, even when your desire fizzles out, even when your motivation is lacking. It's the value that you hold. It's the core why. So, for example, like when you're starting a YouTube channel, one of the things that they ask you to do as a creator is to ask yourself, what is your why? What is your why for doing this? It's not to get views. It's not to get likes. It's not to go viral. For most people anyway. The why is the value behind it. The why is what you value and what you want to share value-wise with other people, because that will keep you coming back and doing the work, even when that passion and that desire are not there, even when you're not getting the traction, even when you're not seeing the results, even when you're feeling insecure about what you're doing. That value, that core value will keep you coming back, wanting to continue and to persist. It doesn't necessarily have to be in regard to specifically a YouTube channel, even though that was the example I used because that's relevant to me. But it's just you finding and feeling independent and confident in yourself enough to persistently go after what it is that you want, because those values are keeping you going. Okay. I do want to get some tarot cards for you guys. 6 of Wands. You will be successful, you will be independent, and you will get the value back from that if you can stick with it. If you can allow yourself to progress through the maturity that the responsibility and the continued application will bring you. And you have the Moon card. So I think this is where that eternal child is living, in the shadow part of the mind. The moon casts a very wide shadow. And we were talking about the shadow attributes of Aries as well, because the light attributes of Aries are independence, bravery, passion, leadership, which is very 6 of Wands. And those are wonderful qualities. And also, in addition to that, the shadow side of Aries is impulsive, a little bit selfish, irresponsible, lacking consistency. So these are the things that Spirit really wanted to draw to your attention, is that you might be looking at the achievements of other people and really glorifying those and thinking that you can get there without doing that much work, or feeling as though you cannot get there because every time that you try, you lose momentum, or you're not persisting with it, or you're not patient enough for it. That's another shadow side of Aries, is impatience. So you want to look at these shadow and light attributes within you, because that's why they called me to the archetype deck for you guys specifically, because they want you to look at the different aspects of the self that live within you, the shadow and the light, and how you can integrate those and alchemize the shadow into the light version so that you can use that more productively to create the reality, the grounded reality that you actually desire. I feel like it is good for you to chase your dream. It is good for you to go after that passion and that desire, but you have to do it very, very practically. And you can still have support from other people, but there's a difference between interdependence and dependency. Interdependence is I can show up on my own and we can work together. Whereas dependency is I can't do it on my own and I need you to help me do it. And then I keep coming back to you because I haven't learned to do it myself. It's like enabling. So you want to look to where you're enabling yourself by not following through, or by relying on other people, or by just not learning what you need to learn and applying it in this very sort of structured, consistent way that will get you to where you're going or where you want to be. But it's funny that I said to where you're going instead of to where you want to be, because I feel like at soul level, this is part of your path, and where you want to be is where you're going. Whether or not it feels like you've stalled out, or you're making backward progress, or maybe you're just moving really slowly and you're not satisfied with that. Either way, you're going to get to that goal. You just have to show up every day and be consistent with it, and base that motivation on your values rather than your wants, desires, or temporary passions. Look at the bigger picture here, because that's what's going to help you get to where you want to go and where you are going. Okay, so I think I'll leave it there for you, group number 3. Interesting reading. Sorry about it getting cut off in the middle there, but seems to be recording now, so it's fine. So yeah, maybe that's what you felt like, right? So it's like you put in a lot of work in something and then it got cut off right in the middle. You lost momentum and then you gave up, or you feel like giving up right now or something like that. And Spirit is saying, no, don't give up. Keep going, but find the motivator for what's actually going to keep that consistency in your approach and your effort. Face the shadow, look at the darker aspects and alchemize those, because that's what you're here to do. And that will help you mature, level up, get to your goal, be the best version of you, be independent, and really see the rewards of that long term. Like, you will see the outcome, you will feel victorious, you will have people look at you and go, wow, you did it. And you'll feel good about yourself, not because you're getting that validation, but because you did it for yourself. Like, you showed up every day and did it. Nobody else did that for you. You did that. Maybe you get support from other people when you need it, but you kept showing up for yourself at the end of the day because those values were driving you, and you did what felt in alignment with you. That's how you integrate and alchemize the shadow. All right, guys, so that's what I have for you, group number 3. If you're still here in the reading, thank you so much for being here, for listening, for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. And if you guys want to go deeper here on the channel, I do have memberships available. Check those out to go even deeper into pick a card readings, weekly guidance, monthly live streams where you guys can ask me questions and receive direct answers from Spirit. And if you want to go even deeper with me on a one-on-one level, I do have readings available through my website, which is linked in the description box below. It's tarotandbeyond.com. Thank you guys so much for being here. I love you and appreciate you, and we will see you in the next reading.